Who would have thought that the brightest light at a fashion show wasn't on the runway? Stephanie Morris, a world-famous supermodel, showed up early before the lights, cameras, and chaos. She just wanted a moment of quiet. But what she found instead was a little girl walking down the empty catwalk like it was her dream stage. No lights, no audience, just wide eyes and barefoot imagination. And beside her, a tired man in overalls adjusting the spotlight. He didn't know Stephanie was watching, and Stephanie didn't expect to care. But then the girl said, "I'm gonna be like her someday," and pointed at a poster with Stephanie's face on it. That one moment, it would change everything. Before we dive into the story, comment below where you're watching from. Enjoy the story, everyone. Stephanie Morris didn't like being early, not because she valued her time too much, but because silence always made her hear things she wasn't ready to feel. But that morning, the limo dropped her off too soon. The crew hadn't even finished setting the lights for the runway. The venue was a giant converted warehouse in the city. Cold concrete walls softened by luxurious drapery and shimmering light fixtures being hoisted into place. Stephanie stepped inside, pulling her coat tighter. No flashing cameras, no stylists, just scattered crew members muttering instructions over walkie-talkies. She didn't expect anyone to notice her. That's how she liked it. Slipping past racks of garments and long makeup tables still untouched, she wandered toward the back of the room. The runway was already installed, a clean white path stretching under hanging bulbs. She wanted to walk it alone once, quietly, before the noise, but someone was already on it. A child, a little girl, maybe 7 or 8, barefoot, wearing a faded pink dress with tiny flowers. Her long dark hair bounced as she strutted, arms on her hips, pausing at the end with a twirl and an exaggerated wink toward the imaginary crowd. The shoes beside her were too big, clearly someone else's. Stephanie stood still. The girl turned dramatically and marched back. Her walk wasn't perfect, but it was filled with something Stephanie hadn't seen in a long time: joy. A few feet away, a man crouched beside a lighting rig, adjusting the angle. Brown hair, strong arms, work boots. He wiped his forehead and glanced up with a soft smile. "Nice spin, superstar," he said to the girl. "I almost tripped." She giggled, brushing her hair back. "Then you're doing it right," he grinned. Stephanie didn't mean to watch them, but there was something magnetic about the scene. Felt like home, and she didn't know why. "I'm going to be a model," the girl declared proudly. "Oh yeah," the man chuckled, fiddling with a light panel. "You sure about that, Andy?" "That's my dream," she said, stepping back into her oversized shoes. "Like that lady on the poster." Stephanie turned her head slightly. Her own face, frozen in glossy perfection, smiled back at them from a nearby banner. The man didn't even glance. "You'll be better than her," he said simply. "Because you'll be you." The girl smiled, and Stephanie's chest ached. She took a step forward and cleared her throat softly. The man stood up quickly, startled. "Sorry, we didn't mean to. This is just while it's empty, I swear." Stephanie held up her hand. No, it's fine. She's got a good walk." He blinked. "You?" then paused. "Wait, you're Stephanie," she said with a small smile. "Oh," he muttered, clearly realizing it a few seconds too late. I mean, you look different than in the ads." "Yeah," she replied. "I'm not airbrushed today." They both laughed awkwardly. The girl, Andy, peeked from behind her dad's leg, eyes wide. "Hi," Stephanie said gently, crouching down to her level. You're a natural. Really? The girl whispered. I started on cardboard runways in my grandma's attic, Stephanie said. Yours is much better. Andy giggled. The man looked down, clearly unsure whether to thank her or apologize again. I didn't catch your name, Stephanie added, standing. Liam, he said. Just the lighting guy. I like your lighting, she said. Very flattering. He looked away, a smile tugging at his lips. There was a pause. Stephanie glanced at Andy. You want to walk it one more time before I borrow the stage? The girl looked up at her father for permission. Liam gave a subtle nod. Andy twirled again, this time under a spotlight. Her silhouette glowed against the backdrop of hanging fabric and empty seats. Stephanie watched in silence. It was just a moment, but it stayed with her long after she left the stage. She told herself she was just curious, maybe even amused. After all, how often did someone look her straight in the eye and say you look different in person without trying to impress her? But something about Liam stuck. The way he smiled at his daughter. The way he crouched beside the light rig like he actually cared how the model would look on stage. Not just the wattage, but the emotion. Like he understood what it meant to make someone shine. That wasn't common in her world. Backstage, she was greeted by a swarm of stylists and assistants. Someone tried to hand her coffee. Someone else asked about her shoes for the rehearsal. Stephanie nodded politely, answered what she had to, and kept glancing at the curtain that separated her from the main hall. A few minutes later, she found herself drifting back toward it. The stage was being finalized. Chairs were set. The music director was checking cues. But at the far end of the runway, Liam was still adjusting one of the side lights. His sleeves rolled up, hair slightly messy from climbing scaffolding. He didn't see her until she cleared her throat. You missed a shadow on the far end, she said playfully. He looked up, surprised. Oh, really? She tilted her head. No, but I wanted an excuse to come say hi. He laughed, wiping his hands on a cloth. Well, in that case, I'll pretend I'm failing at my job so you keep coming back. Stephanie grinned. Silence stretched for a second. Not awkward, just full. You always work shows like this? She asked. Sometimes, Liam shrugged. Freelance. I do theater, concerts. Whoever needs lights and doesn't mind a kid sitting in the corner drawing dresses on napkins. Stephanie chuckled. Is that what she does? Yup, said the backstage vibe is inspiring, he said, using air quotes. Honestly, I think she just likes the snacks. I don't blame her. Their eyes met, then quickly drifted apart. Your daughter's sweet, Stephanie said after a moment. Smart, too. She's everything, Liam replied, voice softening. Her mom passed when she was 4. It's just us now. Stephanie's chest tightened. She nodded gently. I'm sorry. He nodded back. Thanks. Another pause. Stephanie looked at the rows of empty chairs. It's funny, she said. I spend so much time preparing for these shows. Makeup, designers, flashbulbs. But that little walk your daughter did this morning? That was the first time I've seen someone really enjoy it. Liam glanced at her. Then I guess she's already ahead of the game. They both smiled. She ever try it on stage? Stephanie asked. He blinked. What do you mean? Like for real? Walk a runway? He scoffed lightly. We can barely afford her sneakers, let alone a runway camp. Stephanie hesitated. I might know someone. He raised an eyebrow. Someone? I mean me, she said. tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. There's a kids segment tomorrow. Just fun. Charity-based. No pressure. If she wants to walk, I could help prep her. Liam looked like she'd just offered to take them to the moon. You're serious? Stephanie smiled. Only if she says yes. Liam turned, glancing behind the curtain toward the corner where Andy was curled up with a juice box, sketching in a notebook. She looked up and waved. Liam waved back, still stunned. I'll ask her, he said softly. But, thank you. Stephanie gave a small shrug. It's nothing. But it wasn't. Not to her. Not to him. And definitely not to the little girl dreaming in the corner. Andy didn't say yes immediately. When Liam asked her that evening, while she was brushing her teeth in their tiny apartment, she blinked at him like it was too good to be true. Stephanie wants me to walk the runway? She asked, foamy bubbles escaping as she spoke. Only if you want to, he said, crouching to meet her eyes. No pressure. She liked your walk, and thinks others might too. Andy rinsed and wiped her mouth. Will there be lights? Probably. Big ones. He smiled. The biggest. She tilted her head. Can I wear my green dress? The one with the butterfly button. Liam nodded. Of course. Andy thought for a moment. Then yes, but only if you fix the light just for me. He placed a hand over his heart. Promise. That night, after she fell asleep, her dress already laid out across the chair. Liam stood by her doorway, watching, wondering how they got so lucky, and also why it all felt like a dream. The next morning, the venue buzzed with activity. Kids' laughter, stylists with emergency sewing kits, makeup artists crouched to apply glitter to cheeks. The children's segment wasn't televised. It was a charity partnership with a local school for underprivileged kids. Most of the audience didn't even know Stephanie would be watching, let alone coaching. But she was, wearing jeans and sneakers, hair in a low bun. Stephanie knelt beside Andy near the backstage curtain, adjusting the small ribbon in her hair. You okay? She asked softly. Andy nodded. My stomach feels like soda bubbles. Stephanie grinned. That means you're excited. The girl looked up. Are you nervous before you walk? Stephanie paused. Sometimes, but I pretend I'm just telling a story with my feet. One step, one word at a time. Andy repeated the phrase quietly. Story with my feet. From across the room, Liam watched. He had no idea what they were saying, but the way his daughter's shoulders relaxed told him it was something kind, something gentle, something she needed. When her name was called, Andy stepped up, small shoulders squared, eyes focused. She took a deep breath, turned to the runway, and walked. The lights shimmered, the music swelled, and for 30 seconds the entire world seemed to pause. There was no glittering gown, no brand name, just a child in a green dress, walking with a kind of truth that couldn't be rehearsed. At the end of the runway, she paused, gave a tiny bow, not rehearsed, just honest, and smiled. Not to the cameras, not to the crowd, but toward the lighting booth, where her father stood, tears in his eyes. Stephanie watched from the side, arms crossed, lips pressed tight, not because she was hiding emotion, but because she finally saw what it meant to walk with meaning. After the show, Andy came running into her dad's arms. You see me? She gasped. I saw everything, Liam whispered, lifting her. Stephanie approached slowly. You were perfect. Andy beamed. Like your ads. Better, Stephanie said. You were real. Liam held his daughter close, eyes on Stephanie. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to," she said. "But if you ever want to talk lighting, I think my next show could use a guy like you." He laughed. "I'm not exactly fashion show material." She raised an eyebrow. "That's funny, because you just helped steal one." The video went viral within hours. Someone in the audience had filmed Andy's walk, her tiny determined steps, her twirl, and her soft smile toward the light booth. They captioned it, "She walked like her father was the spotlight, not the cameras." By morning, Andy's name was trending. Liam didn't even have social media. It was his coworker, Ron, who showed him the clip during lunch break. "That's your kid, man. Your kid," Ron shouted, nearly dropping his sandwich. Liam watched, stunned. In the video, his daughter looked radiant, not because of the lighting, but because of something that couldn't be explained. He didn't know how to process it. He just knew one thing. She looked happy, and that meant everything. Backstage, things were different now. People stopped Stephanie to ask about the little girl. Stylists wanted to know where her dress came from. Brands inquired about a campaign. But Stephanie said the same thing to everyone. "She's not a product. She's a story. And right now, it's still being written." When Liam arrived that afternoon to collect a forgotten backpack Andy had left in the dressing room, he didn't expect to find Stephanie still there, barefoot, sipping coffee on the edge of the stage. "Didn't think I'd find a supermodel in sweats," he teased. She smirked. "Didn't think I'd see you again without your wrench." He held up the backpack. "Left something important." She nodded. "She's special." He sighed. "She's everything." There was a pause. Stephanie looked up at him, more serious now. "You okay with all of this? The video, the attention?" He shrugged. "We live in a one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. I work late so she can dream. I don't know what to do with fame." "It's not fame," she said gently. "It's a window. You don't have to jump through it. But maybe peek." Liam sat beside her. "I never thought I'd be having coffee with you." "Why? You're not someone people like me talk to." She turned to him. "I think I'm exactly the kind of person people like you should talk to." Their eyes met, and this time neither of them looked away. Later that week, Andy got a letter hand-delivered. It was from a small modeling school offering a scholarship. In the corner, there was a note scribbled in bold black ink. "You lit up the runway. Let us help you light up the world." S. Liam read it aloud, and Andy hugged the paper to her chest. "I want to go," she whispered, and Liam nodded even though it terrified him, because somehow in the middle of all this the world had opened up, not with blinding flashbulbs or screaming fans, but with kindness, quiet, sincere, and real, the kind that comes from people who see more than just a walk, the kind that sees where the light truly begins. The scholarship opened doors Liam never thought they'd even knock on. Twice a week after school, Andy took a city bus to a small studio where she learned posture, confidence, and how to walk with grace. Not just on a runway, but through life. The teachers adored her, not because she was perfect, but because she was fearless in the way only a child raised with love could be. Liam always waited nearby, sometimes in the hallway, fixing light fixtures for extra cash. Sometimes in the corner, pretending to scroll his phone but secretly watching his daughter beam. And sometimes, Stephanie joined them. She didn't always dress like a model. In fact, she rarely did around them. Sweatshirts, messy ponytails, shoes kicked off at the door. The first time she joined them for dinner at their apartment, She brought takeout and sat cross-legged on the floor like she belonged there. Liam apologized for the cramped space. Stephanie looked around, at the drawings taped to the walls, the worn-out couch that doubled as Liam's bed, the string lights over the kitchen, and said, "It's warmer than any penthouse I've ever been in." He didn't believe her at first, but over time he did. One evening, after Andy had gone to bed, Stephanie and Liam sat on the fire escape with mugs of lukewarm tea, watching the streetlights flicker on. "She loves you, you know," Liam said quietly. Stephanie looked over. "She barely knows me. She knows enough." Stephanie stared into her mug. "I don't know how to be around kids." Liam smiled. "You don't have to. You just showed up. That's more than most." There was a long pause. "She reminds me of who I was," Stephanie said. "Before the contracts. Before the fake lashes and empty friendships." "Andy doesn't fake anything," Liam added. "I know," Stephanie whispered. "That's what scares me. I don't want this world to ruin her." "It won't," he said, "because she's not alone." Stephanie looked at him, really looked, and for the first time in a long time, she felt something that had nothing to do with cameras or fame. She felt safe. A few weeks later, Stephanie hosted a small charity show, this time not for press or sponsors, but for the girls at the modeling school. It was quiet, simple, beautiful. Andy walked last, her little green dress now neatly tailored, her steps full of quiet confidence. Liam adjusted the lights. Stephanie stood behind the curtain, hand on her heart, and when Andy turned at the end of the runway and pointed, not at the cameras, but at her father, the whole room melted. After the show, Stephanie walked up to Liam, tears in her eyes. "She's going to change the world." Liam looked at her. "She already did." And then, without fanfare, without flashing lights, he kissed her. It was gentle, honest, exactly the way real stories begin. 2 years later, the runway looked different now. Not because of the lights, though they were still perfect thanks to Liam. Not because of the gowns, though Stephanie still turned heads effortlessly. But because of what stood just beyond the velvet curtain. A small wooden stool with glitter glue on the legs, a coloring book left open, and a pair of worn-out sneakers placed neatly side by side. Andy was no longer just the girl from that video. She was now a youth ambassador for the same school she once attended. She had walked in 3 charity shows, spoke at 2 school assemblies, and once, in front of a crowd of 400, said, "My dad doesn't just set the lights. He is the light." Liam cried for a week after that. Their life didn't look like a magazine spread. They still lived in the same apartment, although Stephanie insisted on replacing the couch. They still ate takeout more than they should. But sometimes, on the weekends, all 3 of them walked down to the community center, where Andy helped younger girls find their spotlight. And Stephanie? She still modeled, but less. She said no more often. She started mentoring new talent. She launched a nonprofit to fund creative programs for kids from working-class families, naming it Lighthouse. She stopped trying to be perfect, because, for the first time, she was finally happy. One evening, after a small local show, Stephanie and Liam stood behind the lighting board watching Andy on stage. Not walking, but speaking now. Confident. Radiant. "She's something else," Stephanie whispered. "She's everything," Liam replied. The same words he'd said the first time she saw Andy. Stephanie slipped her hand into his, and when Andy looked up and saw them there, smiling in the dark, she grinned and waved. Not at the spotlight, but at home, because that's what love is in the end. Not the stage, not the camera, not the dress, but the people who show up in the wings and hold the light steady